everybody, we are Smart Fit Chicks. I'm Chrissy and this is Kelly. And today we're going to be showing you some ab exercises that you can do outdoors using just your body weight. We got some feedback from a viewer that was interested in that, so we're going to let Kelly explain while I demonstrate for you.
Great. So some things that you want to think about when developing a core program are the different muscles that go into it. So what we typically think of is the rectus abdominis, which is your six-pack muscle, and we're going to start by showing some exercises for that muscle group. Then we're going to go into obliques, which is your internal, external obliques, which really help with any kind of rotational movement. So as athletes, that's really important. And then going into the transverse abdominis, which is your most deep muscle, and that's going to be the one that supports all your organs. And then going into your erectus spinae, which is your low back. And we're going to start here. So our first exercise is going to be a basic tabletop crunch. You're going to notice that her legs are above the ground in a bent 90-degree angle in her knee. She's going to have her low back all the way on the ground. She's going to slowly lift her shoulders off the ground, creating a space between her shoulders and the ground, exhaling as she comes up, inhaling as she goes down. So this is the basic crunch. To add a little bit more to it and to incorporate a little bit more of the hip flexor, she can alternate dropping one leg at a time, and then to make it that even more difficult, she can actually drop both legs as she's coming up for the crunch. And then even more difficult, she's going to straighten those legs, and then still adding that crunch. So working the rectus abdominis as well as the hip flexors. So that is that six-pack muscle. We're then going to go into a little bit more oblique work. So starting with a basic bicycle crunch. What you see here, she's going to lift the opposite shoulder to the opposite knee. Really seeing nice range of motion here. Shoulders coming all the way off the ground. Low back is still pressed firmly against the mat or the ground so that she's supporting her core as well as her back. To make this a little bit more difficult, she can actually lift up a little bit higher and go into a kind of a full range of motion bicycle. So see how she kind of comes up into a full sit-up while adding that oblique twist. So great for the obliques. The next exercise she's going to do is penguin. She's going to have her feet on the ground. Again, low back's against the ground. Hands are to her side, and she's going to alternate each side that she's crunching to. Great, often used in Pilates and great for the obliques. And now she's going to go into a side V-up. So she's going to note that her legs are going to stay relatively straight with a soft bend in her knee, and she's going to lift her legs up as well as her upper body and her torso, meeting in the center, really incorporating those obliques. This is a rather difficult exercise, so keep this one for the people who are a little bit more advanced. The last oblique exercise we're going to show is a side plank. You can start on your knees to make it a little bit more simple, and your weight's going to go right onto the forearms directly underneath the shoulders. Arm is up for balance. Nice straight line from the point of contact, her knees, all the way up to her head. To make this a little bit more difficult, she's going to go up onto her feet, and using that as the point of contact with the ground. Now her whole body's up against the ground, and she's really incorporating the obliques as well as their transverse abdominis. And that's what we're going to transfer into the next. So our next exercise is going to be a front plank. So she's going to rotate onto the ground, starting with her forearms on the ground. Nice straight line again from her toes all the way up to her head. Notice a nice straight flat back. Her rectus abdominis and her obliques and hip flexors are all nice and tight right here, supporting her core. To make that a little bit easier, she can actually go up onto her hands. So nice high plank there. That's going to be an easier version of what she was just showing. And to make it a little bit easier, she can actually go onto the knees as well, just like the side plank. And now we're going to go into our next exercise, which is going to be what's our next exercise?
You're going to do the hip flexor.
Hip flexor work. Wonderful. And I forgot to mention that. Hip flexors are right in the front, and those are incorporated a lot in the core exercises. So we're going to start, again, back is on the floor, knees can come up into tabletop position, and you can just start with reverse crunches. So what you're doing is you're taking your legs and bringing them up into the front of your body for a reverse crunch. Knees are coming all the way up into the chest or as close as you can. Really thinking about tucking your belly button in as you do this exercise and reversing your hips towards your core. Great exercise for those hip flexors, which are right in front. You can actually straighten those legs and do a V-up, which is going to be a little bit more difficult. So notice how her arms come straight above her. She's going to make a nice straight line from her head and her hands all the way to her feet. nice and slow and controlled as she comes up and comes back down. And to make this a little bit easier, she can actually bend her knees and come into a bent knee V-up as she comes in. So this is a way to progress to make it a little bit easier. Again, great exercise for the front of your hips, your hip flexors. And now let's go ahead and work to the opposite side of our body. Okay, still incorporated into the core our rectus spinae. So we're going to start with a basic back extension. She's going to lift, keeping her hips on the ground, to lift her body off the ground. Chest is coming up. Your neck is in a nice neutral alignment with her spine. Do you see how she's looking down towards the ground? You don't want to be looking up during this exercise. Really isolating that rectus spinae muscle right here. She can alternate doing Superman, so she can alternate opposite arm and opposite leg lifts. This is a great way to start for the rectus spinae. Still looking down towards the ground. To make this a little bit more difficult, she can actually lift both arms and both legs at the same time. Wonderful. And these are actually called swimmers as well. So really isolating not just the glutes, but also the rectus spinae. And any other exercise we want to show for the rectus spinae? The row. So this is another progression. This is actually going to incorporate a little bit more of the upper back as well as the lower back. So nice thing to add in there. So that about wraps it up for us in our core exercises here. Really quick and dirty, but if you have any questions, any other exercises you'd like to see, or you have questions about, feel free to ask us. Again, we always want to put online what you guys want to hear. So thank you.
Thank you very much.